On the morning of July 14th, 2019, emergency dispatchers in Utica, New York, began receiving a wave of 911 calls, some reporting a suicide attempt.
911, what is the emergency?
My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devins. I'm going to kill myself.
Just stay on the line with me, okay?
No, I'm not going to stay in line with you. I'm going to be dead on the ground.
Others describing disturbing images posted online. When police arrived at a dead-end street on the outskirts of the city, what they found was more than a crime scene. It was the epicenter of a tragedy that would soon ricochet across the internet, leaving scars on a family, a community, and the digital world at large. This is the story of Bianca Devins, a 17-year-old girl whose life and death became a disturbing lens through which we must examine obsession, digital culture, and the intersection of mental illness with violence. Bianca Michelle Devins was born on October 2nd, 2001 in Utica, New York. Those closest to her describe her as an intelligent, creative young woman with a love for anime, alternative fashion, music, and art. She was also a young person struggling with documented mental health conditions, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and borderline personality disorder.
Bianca first saw a therapist at 9 years old. She was having some separation anxiety, didn't want to go to school, just wanted to stay home with me. And around 13, Bianca started showing signs of depression.
Despite these challenges, she had recently graduated from high school and was planning to attend Mohawk Valley Community College in the fall to study psychology. Online, Bianca was active within Instagram, Discord, and 4chan adjacent subcultures. She posted frequently, sometimes about her artwork, sometimes personal updates, and developed a following. While her presence online brought friendship and validation, it also introduced her to people whose intentions were not always clear. In May 2019, Bianca connected with 21-year-old Brandon Andrew Clark through Instagram. Clark lived in Cicero, New York, and the two began communicating regularly. Despite an age gap of 4 years, their interactions quickly grew into what Clark appeared to consider a romantic relationship. However, Bianca did not view it that way. According to her family and close friends, Bianca saw Brandon as a friend, someone she occasionally spent time with but did not date seriously. Brandon, however, grew possessive. His messages and online posts would later show signs of obsessive attachment, emotional manipulation, and escalating jealousy. Despite these red flags, Bianca maintained contact with Clark, who had met her family on multiple occasions and appeared polite and reserved in person. On July 13th, 2019, Bianca and Brandon attended a concert together in New York City. The event, held in Queens, featured artist Nicole Dollanganger, a favorite of Bianca's. They were joined by a third person, a male friend named Alex, who had also met Bianca online. After the concert, the trio drove back to Utica. During the ride, Clark reportedly became upset after witnessing a kiss between Bianca and Alex. Though the details remain unclear, this moment appears to have triggered Clark's growing sense of betrayal. Phone records and messages suggest that Clark became emotionally volatile during the drive home. He was convinced, wrongly, that Bianca had humiliated or cheated on him, even though they were not in a relationship by mutual agreement. Sometime after 4:30 a.m. on July 14th, Brandon Clark parked his vehicle on a remote dead end on Poe Street in Utica. The area was wooded and secluded, a place where few would be passing by. Inside the vehicle, Clark retrieved a long, black-handled knife. An altercation occurred. Exact details remain unknown, but what is confirmed is that he stabbed Bianca multiple times in the neck, severing her carotid artery and trachea. She died at the scene. Shortly afterward, Clark took several staged photographs of her body. He posted at least one of these images to a private Discord server that Bianca had frequented. Along with the photo, he included a message. "Sorry, blankers, you're going to have to find someone else to orbit." He also shared disturbing content to his Instagram story, including the caption, "I'm sorry, Bianca." One of the final photos was a selfie with her body in the background. What happened next added another layer of horror to the tragedy. The graphic images Clark posted circulated rapidly across Instagram, Discord, Twitter, and other platforms. Despite community guidelines, these images remained visible on Instagram for hours, and in some cases, days. Bianca's family was forced to relive her death through unsolicited messages and viral content. Her younger sister received the image through Instagram DMs. The photos became the subject of internet memes, reaction videos, and Reddit threads. Outrage followed. Social media companies were criticized for failing to remove the images swiftly. Instagram issued statements. So did Discord. But for many, the damage was already done. Brandon Clark was formally charged with second-degree murder. On July 29, 2019, he pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors presented a clear digital trail of premeditation, including the knife in his car, his manipulative messages, and the calculated social media posts made after the killing. On February 10, 2020, Clark unexpectedly changed his plea to guilty, admitting full responsibility for Bianca's murder. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but on March 16, 2021, he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. During the hearing, Bianca's mother, Kimberly Devins, delivered an emotional victim impact statement. She described her daughter as more than a victim. She was an artist, a sister, a survivor of trauma who was working toward recovery and helping others. In the wake of Bianca's death, her family launched a campaign to address the unregulated spread of violent imagery online. Teaming with state lawmakers, they proposed Bianca's Law, which aims to criminalize the distribution of graphic crime scene photos by individuals outside of law enforcement. In December 2022, New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed the bill into law. It allows families to request the removal of graphic images of their deceased loved ones and penalizes those who share such content for shock or mockery. Bianca's Law is currently state-specific, but her family and supporters continue to push for federal legislation. The murder of Bianca Devins is not just a story of jealousy turned fatal. It's a case that reveals profound vulnerabilities in the online age. The exploitation of mental health, the glorification of violence in certain internet subcultures, and the failure of tech platforms to contain traumatic content before it spreads. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a crime of control, driven by entitlement, catalyzed by obsession, and magnified by digital tools. Bianca was not a public figure. She was a teenager from upstate New York, navigating mental illness and teenage uncertainty, with art in her hands and a future ahead. Her story is now used to examine how technology can be weaponized, and how society must respond when horror becomes viral. Thank you for joining me today in the Hushed Confessional, where we speak softly about the stories the world shouts over. If Bianca's life and legacy have touched you, I ask only this: remember her as more than a headline. Share her truth, not her tragedy. Let us honor victims by telling their stories with care, not for spectacle, but for remembrance, reflection, and change. Until next time, stay gentle with the stories you hear, and even gentler with the ones you tell.